President and CEO of Sanibel and Captiva Chamber of Commerce since 2018. It is the only Florida certified visitor center that is open 365 days a year and sees over 80,000 visitors per year. Professionally, John has been in the hospitality and tourism industry for over 30 years and a resident of Lee County for over 35 years. He has been the board chair of the Visit Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, past president of the Lee County Association of Chamber Professionals, a board member of Lee County Florida Alliance of Chambers, and has been an active advocate for community spirit, tourism recovery, and water quality issues following Hurricane Ian, Helene, and Milton. I have a news alert. 2 weeks ago, Cody named John 2025 Person of the Year. Congratulations. John and his wife Amy have 2 grown children, Zachary and Emma, who both live with their families at St. Petersburg, Florida. His first grandchild, Tilly, was welcomed into the family in January. Please join us in welcoming
Thanks so much for having me.
I'll take this. I know that something was wrong when my mom called on my way over and said, "Where are you?" So that's one of the awesome parts about working on this island. It's also one of the pitfalls of working on this island. She's usually in the room when I'm there. She knows when I'm late. So I will. Oh, sorry. Yes. I need to stand here so I'm in the line of fire. This is our 65th year as a Chamber of Commerce. It's my 10th year. I'm coming into my 10th year, but as Terry just mentioned, and actually I think that I need to update that because it's been 40 years since my mom and dad and I moved to Lee County, and so this is the only place we know is home. We've lived in other places, but we don't identify with anywhere else but this place is home. And not just Lee County, but where we're standing today. I mean, when we moved to the island, this St. Michael's very quickly became our church home. My wife and I were married here, our kids were baptized here, and when my dad was laid to rest, it was here. So it's always very, very special for me to come back here, and like it's far. It's 8 minutes away from my office. But it's always very special for me to come into this room and come into this church and these 4 walls and see people who I know that if something ever would happen to me, you'd take care of my family. If ever I needed something, we could call on Sue and Father Bill. And we have, and time again, you guys have been there for us. And so, news alert, they just won the Community Foundation's 2026 Impact Award, and I can't thank Community Impact Award. I can't thank any more deserving organization. Thank you so much for all that you've done, all that you do, and all you continue to do.
Thank you, Joe.
So, we are trying to figure out technology today, and we're gonna get there in just a hot minute. All right, so. Oh, wait. I can do soon. Keyword there was trying. Okay, so let's try that. I don't know what that black. Our mission at our chamber is very unique, and it's not only to promote the prosperity of our members, which every single Chamber of Commerce, if you know what chambers do, they typically are membership-driven organizations paid for by the business community through membership. And so every single chamber that I've known has been in existence to promote the prosperity of the membership. But we get to add the second part of our mission statement to our mission, and that's to protect the quality of life on our islands. And it's very rare, and it doesn't fall lightly on me, that is a weighty statement. Because not only do we have to look out for what's best for our members, which are our business owners, but we also have to do that in sync with what's best for the community, what's best for our residents. And I think that is truly something special that we get to not only, we're not only entrusted with and we get to steward well, but it's something that the business community understands, and they've made this mission their priority. It's not something I came up with. It's not something that the city said you have to do this, or the residents said we won't support you if you don't. the business community came up with this mission statement. And so it doesn't fall, like I said, lightly on me that we get to do that, and we get to do that in a manner that is responsible and in a way that we know that promotes tourism, yet also promotes the quality of life on our island. This is our board of director. That thing's gonna bug me, but the past chair is Katie Forett. The chairman is Michael Natchef. Chair-elect is Patience Rodriguez, and our second chair-elect is Lee Gevlinger. And what you'll notice from this board is very similar to what you'll notice within our business community, which is that they're made up not only of small mom-and-pop restaurants, resorts, retailers, and attractions, but they're also largely made up of Michael Natchef is the chief of staff for the largest employer in Lee County, which is Lee Health. So we get not only a very hyper-local view of what's happening, we also get to see a very regional perspective by having members of the community from the other side of the bridge that kind of help us through this. If we need help reaching the other side of the bridge, like we have the last 3.5 years, we know that we can lean on these folks to help us do that and amplify our message in that manner. We do a lot of different things at our chamber, but the 3 pillars that most chambers are built on, the first one is networking and convening. In much larger areas, you'll find that networking is the main pillar. And I find that right now as we navigate our way through a management contract with the Greater Fort Myers Chamber, that chamber is very largely based on networking. And so what you find is every single day there's an event, and it's really exhausting, but it's fun. It's more exhausting than it is fun. But this is being recorded, so I'll just leave it there. We do that. We do that through chamber lunches and meetings. We have roundtables with our industry, so we have a community, a nonprofit roundtable. We have a restaurant roundtable. We have resort roundtables, and we have retail roundtables. And we do what we do is just take a pulse of our industries, just to make sure that we're not missing something along the way. We do chamber lunches, which we see anywhere from 100 to 200 people attend, depending on the time of the year and the speaker. Tomorrow we've got one with Norman Love, who, if you like chocolate, which is everyone in this room, you know who he is. And so we get some really great speakers that want to come out and talk to us. We just had our annual board meeting, which we saw over 200 people attend. We had the CEO visit Florida, come and tell us some really cool things that are going to happen this next year as our state gets promoted, but not only our state, but our local islands get promoted on a very granular level. And then obviously we do ribbon cuttings. People are like, do you do anything other than ribbon cuttings? Yeah, we do. But that's something that in the last 3 years we've been very, very busy with. After Ian, we made it a point to say, okay, listen, we know that your business has been open for 20 years. We know that you're not new, but you're new since Ian, and we want to celebrate that. And so it seemed as though we were doing things just to do it. It was very intentional. We meant to do it because we wanted each business to know that we not only valued their time and their commitment, but we really wanted them to know that this was a celebration of every business opening was another step forward, another step in our rebound. And we do advocacy. Man, that is really bugging me. I don't know what my personal room is.
I don't know.
It's right there. And so, sorry, I get distracted. We do advocacy, and most chambers do advocacy. We do very focused advocacy, and if you follow our legislative priorities, what you'll see is that they're tied to 2 things. They're tied to water quality, and they're tied to tourism. And we think that those 2 things are really what gets us back to our mission. When we talk about water quality, it doesn't always have to be just water. It's anything that's nature-based that we think our island is in jeopardy of losing, or we can make better. Water quality has been something that's been near and dear to us because in 2018, for those of you who were here back then, you know that we found very, very quickly that we took that for granted. We took the quality of our water for granted. And back then, I had just come out of a pretty long career managing resorts here on this island. I had Sanibel Inn, Song of the Sea, Seaside Inn, Sunset Beach. Prior to that, I was at Sundial. Prior to that, I was at Tween Waters. And so we've had decades of really great years of water quality. Every now and then we'd see a red tide balloon pop up and we'd go, okay, that's gonna go away eventually. Usually it was about 3 or 4 days, sometimes as long as a week. but we would kind of sweep it under the rug. We didn't want anyone to know that we had an issue, and we thought it would be bad for marketing if we did that. Come to find out that you know, they were becoming more frequent, they were lasting longer, and then in 2018 it just came to a head. It went on for about 4 months, on and off. The bloom got worse, and it got better, then it got worse. I mean, for those of you who were here, there were grouper washed up on the causeway. You couldn't step outside even here without getting sick and coughing and this irritation within your eyes, your throat, your nose. You knew something was wrong physically too, and it wasn't just it wasn't just pictures that were going bad and going south, but it was something physical inside of your body that wasn't working as well. That was about the time that social media was coming online, which was not good for us. TripAdvisor and all of the review sites were fired up, and so we, at that point, as a community, as a hospitality community, made a decision. We said, listen, we can't do this anymore. We can't continue to sweep it under the rug. Our visitors who were from the Northeast and Midwest and even our drive market visitors were actually holding our feet to the fire at that point and saying, why aren't you doing something about your backyard? We save all year, every year to come here, and you guys live here, and you're not doing anything to protect the paradise that you live in. And so we, this is a slide that is not relevant to what I'm talking about, but I'll skip that and come back to it. So we launched a leadership program called Preserving Paradise in conjunction with SCCF, Captains for Clean Water, and the Everglades Foundation. And if you look in this picture in the middle here, you'll see a handsome man in the very back. That's Father Bill. I think I'm wearing the same clothes as I was wearing that day, but it's okay. I have others. This was clean today. But this is a class that we think is incredibly important for not just our water quality here in Southwest Florida, but throughout the state of Florida. And we're seeing people from throughout our region, as far south as Naples and Everglades City, and as far north as Sarasota, go through this program. We are currently on a wait list for it. We have 24 people signed up. We will accept 20 this year. And if you take a look, you'll see here why we created this. We know that we can't be the only ones that know why this happens and what causes this natural phenomenon to happen. There are things that exacerbate this natural phenomenon, such as local runoff, such as the amount of rainfall that we get, and then such as the discharges from Lake Okeechobee and how we treat that water as it comes down. And so we want to make sure that as many business members as we have are engaged in this class. We want to make sure that as many business members as we can know exactly how to speak about this and know how to contact their elected officials. A lot of these business owners have friends who are elected officials, and so over a dinner they can have this conversation with them, which is what we found is so valuable. It's more than we could ever get with an elected official. And if you're talking with someone that you know and trust, things start to happen a little bit differently. And then we don't just do, it's not just a class. There are in-field, I want to call them field trips, but there's so much more than that, right, Bill? Mm-hmm. We do take you fishing one day, which is really just to put you in the estuary and make you fall in love with the natural resource that we are fighting so hard to protect. But we take you out in the Everglades to show you why Everglades restoration is key to moving the needle with water quality, particularly here in Southwest Florida, but throughout our state as well. The Everglades, all of South Florida depends on the Everglades for drinking water, which a lot of people don't even realize. And it's being starved for water. So our thought is not our thought. The objective here is to send that water south so that it goes where it belongs. It gets filtered and cleaned, and then it restores the Everglades naturally, and then we get less of those discharges here on the East Coast and West Coast. And then lastly, what we do, I'll actually go back to this slide here because I think it's important as well. Part of our advocacy with tourism, we partner with the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association, and in 2023, we made sure that the Hospitality Cares program was not only known about here in Sanibel and Captiva. It was for anyone that got hit by Hurricane Ian. So basically, everyone up the West Coast and through the middle of the state, and Ian exited through, I think it exited on the East Coast. So anyone in Daytona could apply for this as well. We wanted to make sure that of the $3 million that was available, that the lion's share ended up where we lived here in Southwest Florida. And so if you take a look, you'll see we dispersed $1.8 million to local businesses here in Lee County. And so part of the advocacy that we do isn't just to move the needle to get money for the state to market the destination. It's also to help us recover once we come out of a disaster as well. All right, let's get back on track. We operate the Welcome Center, as you mentioned. That place stays busy. Before I left today, I checked the count. We were at 68 people already. And so we're averaging about 130 people a day right now. From January 1 through now. In March, we averaged over 220. So I don't need to look far when I think, oh my gosh, are we really back? Are people coming to visit? What are they asking? I just need to go downstairs and I need to check the count. We've got 3 ladies down there that have been there for a combined over 60 years. And so when I talk about what they do down there, I don't have to ask them to do anything. They do it all. They write down every single question that they get, that they answered that day. They write down every single phone call that they took. And if there was something, if they had to escalate something to the city or direct someone to the county, particularly for beach parking or things like that, they just do it and they write it down, tell me, hey, we need to do this. Because of them, we actually have a beach parking kiosk in the visitor center so that someone that comes in without a cell phone can actually get beach parking. And so that's a big deal. Those are things that we don't think about, but those ladies on the front line, they see it every single day. And as you mentioned, we're open 365 days a year. And this is what the inside looks like. We liked it so nice. We did it twice, once in 2017 and then once again in 2023, just as everyone else did. And then we partner with our local destination marketing organization, which is Visit Fort Myers, and they are county-wide. They are paid for through the tourist tax fund. So when you stay at a hotel, you spend an extra 5% in bed tax. That tax goes to the county to market our destination, to re-nourish our beaches, and to pay off the debt that's on the baseball stadiums right now. So those 3 things are really the buckets that fall into that Lee County bed tax. So when you go to a hotel and you get your bill at the end of your stay and you see an 11% tax cumulative, you now know where it goes to. All of our beaches were re-nourished utilizing that tax. All of the ads that you'll see if you ever go up north are paid for through that tax. And then I sit on their board of directors so that we can get information like this, which doesn't tell you a whole lot wherever. This is really unfortunate, but right here it shows you that Pinellas County was negative 19.9% in occupancy for January of 2026. We use this data to help us figure out where we need to spend our money and how we stack up with our competitive set. So when we look at Sanibel Captiva as a destination, we think about marketing. The Chamber has some marketing dollars set aside, but we don't have nearly enough, nor do we have anywhere near what these guys have. So it behooves us to partner with organizations like this. We can make our money go a whole lot further if we put $20,000 towards a campaign that they're doing, that they're spending $2 million on. And so we use this data to figure out, okay, where else is not doing as well as we are, and where are they likely to advertise. We need to make sure we retain that market share. If we're not doing as well as others, we can also figure that out as well, and then see where they're spending money that we might not be. We find that in Lee County, for this particular month, which is January through, so basically all of last year with the exception of December, you can see here that our occupancy was 68.2%. I'm sorry, 60%. Sorry, right here. Can you all hear me? Oh wow, I'm loud. I don't love that. Okay, got it. So we were at 60%. The state was at 68%, and U.S. was at 63%. So we were lagging behind in both occupancy rate and revenue per available room. That's getting much better this year, and I took out some slides just for time, but what you'll see is that, hang on, yeah, I took out all the slides. What you'll see is if you compare it to this year, we are up about 13% from last year in occupancy. When we look at the months of February and March, every single resort on the island was running in the 90s in both February and March. The attractions are all wide open again, and the Shell Museum, if anyone here volunteers at the Shell Museum, they're reporting record year. And so we're excited because that shows us data that we collect, and I'll show you here in a second how we store that data. We also collaborate with Visit Florida. As you mentioned, I sit on the board of Visit Florida as our immediate past chair, and I think it's very important that we make sure that we retain a seat on both the county tourism agency as well as the state, because it puts us front of mind. This is a list of things that Visit Florida does, and I'll tell you that if you look at a sales funnel, Visit Florida is probably one of the widest parts of that. They outperform California in terms of visitation, and they have about a third of the spend as California does, which is impressive. But then it's up to the county to get the people who visit Florida to Lee County, and then it's up to us to get the folks that visit Lee County to come out to the islands. And so we look at that sales funnel as something that if we don't drive that top line, we can't pull them down to the bottom line. And so these are the places that Visit Florida is present, and we make sure that we are present in every single one of those places. So we're on their website, we're on their social media, and I'll show you a couple of spots that we have there. And then we are in every single one of their welcome centers. I don't know if any of you drive down through 95, 75, I-10, or any of those corridors, you'll see the Visit Florida Welcome Center. You stop in, get a free glass of orange juice, use the restrooms, and then plan your vacation. And then we're on their TV, radio, magazine, newspapers, and then I'll show you an example of some of the sweepstakes that we've run with them over the last 12 months. This just shows you their ROI and some of the things that they do. I'll skip through some of this stuff. But this was something that's been very important to us over the last 3 years. They have a dedicated hurricane response and recovery plan, and so they know that this piece of paradise that we live in is subject to storminess, and so everywhere that you go, there's something, and ours happens to be during the summer months. And phase 0, leading up to the storm, they utilize their platforms to serve as a communications tool. So to let everyone know what's happening, to let everyone know what emergency management is trying to get out and convey. And so they utilize that platform that they have, which is a very large one, to really communicate throughout the state to all the hospitality partners that partner with them. Phase 1, after the storms, they support the areas around the area that's been impacted. So when we got hit, they spent money and effort and resources to make sure that the rest of the world knew that Florida was still open for business, that Tampa was still okay, that St. Pete was still okay, that Anna Maria Island was still okay, that Orlando was okay. People tend to paint Florida with a very broad brush, and so when you see a water quality crisis or a storm hit, what we see is visitation decline significantly for the months that follow those, not just to the regions that were impacted, but also throughout the state as a whole. So phase 1 is incredibly important, particularly the years following Hurricane Ian. We had a very busy year as well, right? We had Helene, Milton, Debbie, all in that second year, and thankfully Visit Florida promoted us because we were still open for business. Southwest Florida did not get as impacted as, say, further north of us, right? So Pinellas County at that point was hit very hard. Sarasota County was hit very hard. And so what they did was make sure that everyone else around them were front of mind. Phase 2, direct support for the areas that were impacted. So that was us. What they wanted to see was that when we hit for the 50% mark for hotel rooms pre-Ian. Keep in mind that after Ian, as you all know, every single business, every building on this island was impacted. So we went from having 580 members to 0 as a Chamber of Commerce. We went from having over 1,800 rooms to 0. And so what they wanted us to report back to them was, let us know when you hit that 900 room mark-ish, so that we know that you're about 50% and we can start implementing phase 2. What we don't want to do is market your destination if you have no rooms to rent. And then phase 3 after a storm is specialized targeting. So they showcase our area. In this case, what they've done for us is they've come out with a phase 4. And phase 4 was only implemented after Hurricane Michael in the Panhandle, which is where they come down for 2 specific years and they target the markets that you want them to target. So we've told them we want the Northeast and the Midwest. They're our bread and butter. We told them that we want you to start advertising in April, which is now. And we told them we wanted them to run through season of next year. So what they've done for us is they've come down and they just recently wrapped up last week with some asset collection. So they've come down and they spent a day out on Captiva. They spent 2 days on Sanibel. They went as far as North Cap, and they got some really strong assets. And what they're going to do with these is create 4 or 5 different campaigns that you'll see. We won't see them. That you'll see run in the Northeast and Midwest. Are any of you going back home to the Northeast and Midwest anytime soon? If you are, let me know what you're seeing them, and I know they'll work. And then they ran some promotions for us. So they came down to the Sundial and they ran a couple different promotions for us. And when we partnered with them on this, we went up to Captiva. We did a Captiva cruise. We came back. We spent some time at Sundial. You can't tell here, but it was about 34 degrees that day. But Twin Cities Live was broadcasting live from Sundial, which Sundial allowed people to come and watch them film live, and within 20 minutes of Sundial making the announcement, they had to close the registration because 280 people registered. Are you from Minnesota? Anyone? No? Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you know Twin Cities Live. I did not, but apparently they've got a pretty loyal following, and so it was a 14-partner feature with 90 minutes of show. Over 200 people attended the broadcast. 8.5 million impressions and $300,000 in media value. We didn't pay a penny for that. They've come in and they've done these different social media promotions for us. This one is Sanibel Captiva specific. This one features the Shell Festival. The one on the right is a paid ad by South Seas. And then they've done this for us, which is One Fun Florida. And that ad is going to run in the Northeast, Midwest, and throughout our drive markets. Our drive markets are within 2 hours from the Florida border. We find that in the summertime and in the off seasons, we lean very, very heavily on those folks. That also is running in Germany and Brazil as well. So really excited about that. This is something that we've run locally in the last 12 months to showcase Sanibel's 50th anniversary. And this is just, we won't be running this exact ad this year, we'll be running something similar to it.
Summer days move a little slower here, and that's just the way we like it. Start your morning on 2 wheels, biking beneath the palms. Cast from the boat or wade right in. The fish are waiting. Treat yourself to a sweet scoop and a salty breeze. Catch the sunset over a perfect island meal. On Sanibel and Captiva, the beach is your backyard, and every day is a new adventure. Eat, shop, stay, play. It's your summer, the island way.
And that was done from the chamber. And so what we do is with our budget is we take about 8% of our budget, we dedicate it to 3 campaigns a year, one for summer, one for season, one for the shoulder seasons. And this was our summer ad from last year. And what we find is that when we do that, we can then partner with Visit Florida and Lee County, BCB to push our message out in the places that we need to without spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they have when we don't. We have about about 150,000 every year that's dedicated from our member dues. And when you think about that, that's about 40% of our operating budget. So we know that especially in the last 3 years, we very badly needed to let our visitors know, A, that we were back open for business, and B, that we were ready for them. The island's flora and fauna had come back, and that we had hotel rooms ready for them to stay. And then we also partnered with the city of Sanibel this past year, to really drive traffic to the island for folks who wanted to invest in it. And so I'll show you this quick one.
Island life is starting every day with the sun. It's connecting with nature all around you and chasing the adventure that awaits. It's living your best life in all the ways that count. It's sunsets every night and 0 traffic lights. Because who says you have to be on vacation to feel like you're on vacation? Sanibel, Florida. Naturally, you'll love it here.
And so we partnered with the city, like I mentioned, to run those ads, and we ran those in the same places as our visitors. We know that so often visitors come down, they find out that they love this place, and they table it as a bucket list place to retire someday. Well, no better time than now. And with remote work, we're finding that our not only our visitors trending younger, but our residents are starting to trend younger, and so we've pushed that out. And so the link to that went directly to the Realtors Association, and Bill Robinson over at the Realtors Association has received over 110,000 referrals from that ad to his website. So, the power of marketing actually, beauty of all of this is that we don't do anything we can't track. And so we know that if we are spending dollars to send somewhere, that they will.
Better?
Your hand.
Oh,
Your
sorry.
hand up a little bit. It
Put
says
your
it
hand
over
up.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
She taught me this once before, 5 minutes ago. And so yeah, we love the fact that we can track referrals. We can track views, and the impressions are in the millions, but it's the referrals that click from that site, wherever they saw it, to where we have them going. All of our other stuff comes to our site, and so we benefit from that, and our members benefit from that. But when we have it go to the realtor site, for example, then Bill can track where it goes from his site, but if it all the way down to whether or not they inquired about a specific house, which to us, that's where the rubber meets the road. So, okay, we're gonna talk a little about where we've been, where we're going, where we are. Where we've been, we started off, we changed everything on our site the day after Ian, from a destination marketing site to really an expectation site, right? An expectation management site. So when people came, we didn't want them to not come. We just wanted that if they came, that they knew what they expected. So from the very first day, we're like, hold on, the bridge isn't passable. You can't do anything. We'll update this. We didn't say it like that. It was a lot more tender. Don't come. That's what I wanted to say at that time, but I didn't. And so we as we started to reopen businesses and we started to see things on the island start to move, we went to a come visit us. Here's what's open. Here's what to expect. You probably, if you've been here for any length of time, you've seen the Wander map QR codes. We partnered with Wander to help us create a digital platform that people could download. They could see what stores were open, what their hours were, how to get to them, and what they were serving at that time. Because at that time, we all know, limited menus, things were a little different. They were only open 4 or 5 hours a day if they had power. If they didn't have power, they were open 1 or 2 hours a day, but they did what they could. We wanted people to know that even though they were only open limited hours, they'd come out and visit. This was the 2 days after Ian. One of our firefighters caught this photo, and I thought that's our chamber in the background. We use this as a reminder for how far we've come in such a short period of time. So 3 years and 7 months ago, this is what it looked like on Causeway Boulevard. So where we are, we've recently, in the past 12 months, we've come out with a series of comeback ads to promote on social media. So all of these had both the Wander Map QR code on there, as well as they were clickable links that you could go directly to our site. And from these 4 ads, we've seen upwards of 1.5 million visits to our site. And then from our site, we've seen so they come to our site, and then we call, when they leave our site and go to someone else's site, we call that a referral. We've seen over 600 referrals from these ads alone. And then this is just some data that, as a chamber guy, I think I'm obligated to show, but just some things that we've done for 2025. What I think is really impressive for us is that on our social media sites, we have over 110,000 followers that are very, very loyal. And then this is something that in January 1, we had 72% of our pre-Ian hotel inventory back, 79% of our vacation rentals, 73% of our restaurants, 77% of our retailers, and all of our attractions were reopened. Those attractions used to include fishing charters. We took those out because they were hard to track. Some of them were based on the island, a lot of them weren't. And then some of them had boats still, others didn't. So we took those out. Those are attractions that are brick and mortar, or in, let's say, Evelyn Stewart at Adventures in Paradise. She has a physical site here on island for her boats. This is today, so you can see that we're at 74%. That number has gone up 2%. The vacation rentals have shrunk, and you'll find that with vacation rentals because, as most of you know, they come in and out of program at any given time, so it's really hard to track vacation rentals. I could own a vacation rental and only put it up for rent for 6 months out of the year, and then pull it out the other 6 months. And then restaurants were at 73%, so that number has not changed. And we know, as an organization, the next 24, 25, 27% are gonna be the hardest to get back online and take the longest, because they're the ones that are yet to come out of the ground, right? I just met with an owner just right before coming here that just bought a piece of property on West Gulf, and it's probably gonna take him a year to get permitted and another year to come out of the ground. So while we're gonna get those units back, that's awesome, it'll probably be 3 to 4 before we see him open his doors, actually 4 to 5 before we see him open his doors. And that story's true, right? We know that Tony Loppy is just about to open Beachview Villas on West Gulf, but he's not even considering when he's gonna break ground on West Wind, and that's 100 units. So for an organization like us who depends on them for our, to have as members, quite frankly, and for our top line revenue, we know that's gonna be a heavy lift, and that's probably 3 to 5 years down the road. Every single shop at Sandwell Outlets used to be a member. We don't know when we'll see those back. The good news is we've got this. If you're asking me where our headwinds lie, it's probably in the other 25% that we're missing throughout this. And so that's why we've done, if you've heard, we don't dance around anymore, there's a consolidation conversation that's going around between Sandwell Captiva Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Fort Myers Chamber. They approached us to ask if we would help them while they were looking for a new CEO. It was a 6-month contract. Well, we're on month 5 of that, and we knew that no good deed goes unpunished. If we did a good job with it in the first 6 months, they would probably ask us to extend it. And so what they've asked is if not only will we extend it, we would look for a long-term contract. So the good news is that the timing of this and the timing of that could align to help us fill the gap in terms of funding. When we look at retail space, people always say, there's no way 77% of our retailers are back, and so I break it down for them. I'm like, no, I'm not making that number up. In our retail roundtable, we sit down with all of the store owners, including all of the shopping centers, and these are what they actually have rented right now. Some of these numbers may have changed. This was about a month and a half ago that we had got this data. If you look here at Periwinkle Place, it says 24 units total, 20 units occupied. Not all of them are open, but if it says occupied, it means that lease has been signed, and they're working diligently to get that open. Toys Ahoy was on that list for about a year. We knew she was coming back, we just didn't know when. And then we, last year, created a site called Sandwell Solutions in conjunction with CFI, and we were looking at a recovery dashboard. This was something that showed us what the causeway counts were, beach parking, all of these metrics that were important to us from a recovery standpoint. We have pivoted from this to, okay, this is what our site looks like now. Instead of saying not perfect, still paradise, it's just another day in paradise. and our ads now reflect that. But we've pivoted from our Sanibel Solutions website to SandCap 360, and it's in collaboration with CFI, the City of Sanibel, and Hammerhead Technology, which is located here on island. SandCap 360 will no longer look at a rebound or recovery dashboard. It will be a health dashboard. It will go on for perpetuity. So this is not well, when we get to 80%, we're going to say, okay, we're fully healed. This is how's the community doing in terms of economic vitality, environmental health, and infrastructure and essential services, and community well-being. This will serve not only the residents and the businesses, but also future investors. It will serve folks who are filling out grant applications. It'll serve our schools. It'll serve anyone that has any interest at all in Sanibel and Captiva. And so I don't expect any of you to read any of this, but what it's showing here is that we're taking these numbers from authoritative departments. We're collecting the data for them and putting them into the platform. It's going to be mostly AI generated, so we'll have a dashboard or a platform where all they need to do is give us the link to their site that collects the data. That platform will pull the information that it needs, and it'll populate it on our dashboard. So there's no room for human error. It's not like me filling out an Excel spreadsheet. It is going to pull directly from the city site, pull directly from CFI site, CHR site, Fish's site, SECF sites, and it will go. SECF has all those monitoring stations out in the bay. It'll pull from there, so it'll show you everything that you want to know about our economy, our real estate, our community house events, everything that you can think of, causeway, traffic, and everything from sunset, sunrise to business tax receipts and permitting. So the city's GSI data will be on this. You can click on a house and see if it has an open permit. And then education as well. So we'll see in real time what SESI, Sanibel School, and C School have in terms of enrollment. And then I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you to come out to Islands Night on May 8th. It's whoever put these slides together for me really helped me out here with this, or didn't help me out here with this. But these are the things that we have coming up this year. We've got Islands Night on May 8th, and that's going to be on Friday night for the first time ever. It'll feature the first ever drone show after the game, which will be really cool. Bailey's is a sponsor, so the very first slide will be Bailey's logo in drones, and it'll be a great time to celebrate an awesome season. And at this time, that's what I have. So thank you very much.